Hi fam, hello, it is I, Smriti, and today I am going to be doing one of the most anticipated vlogs for you, but one of the most anxiety-inducing vlogs for me, and that is to read this book, which is A Little Life by Hana Yanagihara. Now, if you are generally part of like BookTube or you have seen multiple videos where people have just read this book and cried copious amounts. And in the video, they tell you in the very beginning that usually they do not cry while reading books. And I am here to tell you that I cry a lot while reading books. So I am genuinely scared for my health. But here is what I think will happen. Either I will have an emotional breakdown in this video, or I have psyched myself out so much that I will not cry as much. I do think I will cry. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Time will tell us where I will stand on this. However, I have read 55 pages of this book and I have not cried at all, so I consider this a win. This book is a book that was released in 2015, and I bought this in 2016, as you can see in this image here, when I did not even have a Bookstagram channel. I put this up, and I was very excited about buying it, but then I heard all the reviews and everything, and I was just got scared. So I've been scared to read this book since 2016. And I'm gonna finally overcome it in 2021. Okay, anyway, this book follows four friends who are Jude, Willem, JB, and Malcolm, and it's about them and their friendship from college to I think like present day or some day in New York, where they are just going about their lives. And I know that there is a lot of pain involved, especially with their past. I don't know if it is in their present yet or anything. I don't know. I have been trying to avoid any knowledge about this book like the plague, so I will make sure that this vlog also does not have any spoilers or any sort of information per se. I will give you the very brief understanding of things without being like spoilery or give you too much of information. So you have my word on that. I may have a spoilery section which I will give you like full warnings before I get into it, but I may or may not do that. I don't know what my state will be after I finish reading this book. So yeah, so that is it for now. Today is March 1st. I am going to get into reading it and maybe try to read this as fast as possible, because when I read Know My Name, which is a book that completely destroyed me, I tried to read it within a day and a half so that I could just like go fast through the pain. But I don't know whether I will be able to do that with this one, or if I should do it at all. So anyway, this was a very long introduction. Let me just now get into the book reading. Okay, bye. Hello, welcome to day 2. Yesterday, day 1 was just a bad day for reading. I just couldn't find it in me to do it. So I fell asleep really early, and now I've woken up really early. So it is only like not even 7 o'clock in the morning. And I've already finished part 1 of the book. And I am already seeing parts of what people have warned us about in terms of the contents of the book that have come in. I didn't cry, but I was a little like teary-eyed already on page, I think, wait, let me give you the exact page. I'm marking it. On page 69, where things were happening and I was concerned. So yes, I'm now going to have my chai and then continue reading. I think in the first part we were introduced to the friends, the four of them, and I think in this part, if I'm not mistaken, we get to know more about Jude and his life. And since I do know that his life is supposed to be a little like messed up, I am concerned. But we will persevere. Can someone please explain to me why Miss Hanya Yanagihara is making me emotional over an entire conversation around maths? But like emotional in a good sort of way, like I was smiling throughout it, and they're talking about pure maths, and I was just like, oh my god, why? Right. So I have just reached around the 150 page mark, and I finished essentially the first chapter of part two, and we are now starting to get some of the fucked upness of what happened with Jude. And so far, though, she's just alluded to things like it's I don't know, like she hasn't said outright what's happening, I think. And even Jude doesn't like really talk about it, which I guess makes sense because he's always been so guarded. But yeah, I am now going to, I think, just shower and then get back to reading, I guess I don't know. Okay, what you saw right now was happy tears. They were good things that were happening, which makes me even more scared because now I'm just like, you made me happy, now you're just gonna like stab me in the back and make me really upset. Like, I know that this is what's gonna happen. I know that I have to like prepare myself for some really fucked up shit that's gonna happen because from what I've heard, there is a lot of sadness in this book. So now that you've given me happiness, you are definitely going to give me a lot of sadness. But even with all of the happiness, I was still underlying sad. So I don't know what you make of that, what you will. Okay. But yes, Jude is a character. I don't know what to say, but holy shit, I really hope that there are not people like this in the world who feel like the way he does, and have to do things that he does. But that is that for now. I am going to continue reading now, I think, and I will keep you posted. Look how pretty it looks. Meanwhile, how nice. Okay. Hi, hello, and welcome to the next day. I fell asleep quite early yesterday because I woke up pretty early, but then I woke up pretty early again, and I finished part three of the book, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. So we're okay so far. But what I did like about this that it wasn't just about Jude. We also talked about some other characters, and like the last chapter was about JP, and I thought that was particularly heartbreaking as well. But I again really liked the way that their friendships came together, and just how their friendship was described. The dynamic seems lovely. And yeah, that was all for now. I'm gonna continue reading, and let you know what I think. Hi. It is the next day now, and I yesterday I finished reading till part 4, chapter 1. So I'm about 300-ish pages in. And just the things and the contents of the book in that one chapter just had me so horrified that I couldn't continue. I was just it was just everything that happened in it, and I don't want to give out too many spoilers, so I'm not going to say what or by who or anything, but um I didn't cry, but I felt like as things were progressing, I felt like I was making myself smaller in order to not feel the pain, if that makes sense to you. I was just constantly shrinking in to just be like, I don't know, I just didn't want the pain to happen. So I decided to stop and I watched like 10 episodes of Criminal Minds, which is like going from one fucked up thing to the other fucked up thing, but like, I don't know. So yeah, it is the next day now, as I've said. So I'm gonna start rereading, I mean, just reading the book, and I will see where we go from there. I know that we are in for some more stuff, and I know that I'm gonna have to deal with the repercussions of what happened in the first chapter in the next few chapters, which is not gonna be nice. So I'm just bracing myself for it, and let's just see where that leads us. Each time I want to start reading this book, I find myself distracting myself or doing something else because I know what's gonna happen in the next few pages, in the next few chapters, and like, as I said, the repercussions of what just I read yesterday, and I just don't want to deal with it. Okay, like I just don't. So, but I'm gonna pull through because I'm just getting myself anxious. Uh, Thinking about what's gonna happen, I should just read it and get it over with, I guess. And yes, I may feel really shitty while reading it, and it will be hard, but at least it will be over, and I'm not just like psyching myself out. So this is my pep talk to me on camera. Great. I will read now. Um, I am just sobbing here, and we're at like a really bad part where things are really bad, and then it literally in the thing says, later when things got bad, how much more bad could it possibly get? Okay. Hello. It has been a minute since I updated you. It has been not even a few seconds since you've seen me last. But for me, it has been a little less than a week, I think. In this time, I just felt that my mental health, not really associated with the book or anything like that, but just generally, I felt like it was a little bit dipping. So I decided to take a break from reading the book. because I just didn't need to add on to it. So yeah, that's what I did. Instead, I watched almost like 2.5 seasons of Criminal Minds. So there's that. But yeah, also I tried picking up the book, and each time I would pick up the book, the first page had the name of this person who I know was going to be associated with bad things, and I did not want to read that. So I basically just like would yeet it from my existence for a while. And that's what I did. So yeah, so basically I hadn't read anything for, I mean, 6 days, I think. And then yesterday I started reading the book, and where I had stopped was part 4, chapter 2. I just finished, and I was getting to chapter 3. And chapter 3, honestly, I felt like maybe it would have affected me way more, but I feel like I have psyched myself out so much with regards to this book that, like, I did get emotional in parts, and I thought that what things were happening were horrific, but I'd still like braced myself, I guess. So it wasn't that bad. I don't think I actually like wept either. So I did get emotional, but I didn't weep, which in my books was a win. And then now I am in part 5, which is Happy Years. And the first chapter, I mean, it seems to be fucking happy, so I mean, there's that. There's something good going on, but I know that there are not going to be very great endings to this, so I'm bracing myself for that too. And also, I don't know, it's also, it keeps alluding to things and how Jude has suffered with regards to who the next person might be who has fucked him up and made him the way that he is. And I don't like that because now whenever I see that person's name, I am on edge, and I am like, it's like I'm shrinking, like as I explained before, like I feel like it's making me feel like put up my walls, very much like the way Jude does, I guess, as a coping mechanism. And it's unnerving, really. I don't like that experience at all. So would you say that I am enjoying my experience reading this book right now? No, I'm not. But I do really love the characters, etc. This is going to be a conversation that I will have, I guess, in my final thoughts, etc. But just a little preview for you for my thoughts right now. But yeah, I am going to now, I guess, just like run through with the book. I am now going to start reading part 5, chapter 2. Part 5 is quite long as a part, I guess. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna do now. I guess that's my update for you. And I'm gonna stop talking now and then just get to reading, okay? Because that's the amount of self-harm in this book is nuts, and the way that it's described is painful to read. And wow, this is just, I was just sitting here and thinking to myself, if this was a book that I hadn't heard anything about, or if like wasn't so lauded or anything like that, would I have DNF'd this book or stopped reading this book at this point of time? And I think my answer probably would have been yes, because even though the writing is lovely, I am clearly invested in the characters, all of that sort of stuff, I feel like even though I do want to know what came of the story and what happened to these characters and all of that, I feel like the payoff of having to read of so much pain is just a lot. So I totally get what people meant when they said torture porn. Because yeah, it's a bit much. Like you can say that the book was like he's going through a lot, or that, like, the self-harm, and you can explain it in a few, I don't know, pages even, but this is literally an entire chunk of a chapter which is used to describe his self-harm and what he does, and it's just like, I feel like, did I really need to know so much? And that is a question that's going on in my head right now, where I'm just like, is this needed, ma'am? Like, is this needed? I don't know. So there's that to think of, I think. Hello, I am done with chapter 2 of the book, and I mean, of part 5. And I think we finally gotten to understand the history of Jude, like, of his life before he went to college and all of that sort of stuff. And it was fucking horrific. It was really fucking bad. But I'm hoping that we are going to put this behind us now, which clearly is not happening. I'm just like doing wishful thinking, because I know that this book has more like stuff that is going to put me through. So that's great. I'm gonna continue reading now and then see where that takes me. Hello, hi. Uh, Yesterday was a mess, because essentially, after all the crime that I did, because the happy years, which is what that part is called, was didn't end very happily. So I was just very, very, very fucking sad. So I went into what I call depression sleep. Uh, I don't know if you're familiar with the term, but it's when you just like can't deal with reality or like apparently fiction anymore, so you just go to sleep. So yeah, that's what I did. I woke up super early in the morning. Then here I am now. I am ready to finish the rest of the book. So I have about, like, I think the last 100 pages or so of the book left, and that is where it apparently gets super brutal, and just really fucking intense. So yay me! But I plan to hopefully just whack it out today, like just finish it today, because Lord knows I have been in this book's like world for a really long time, and I need to get out of it for like everyone's sanity. So that's what we're gonna do. We are ready. We have had a bath. We have not put on any makeup because I like don't want makeup disasters, when like tears or anything like that. But see why people cry so much with this book. And it's not, it's about the characters and the characters that stay with you and you feel so much for, that in the end you just, I don't know, I can't explain it. I will come back with more thoughts later, I guess. Hello and welcome to the final part of this video. I have taken many days a break after I finished reading the book because I had many conflicting thoughts about the book that I needed to kind of put together in my head properly, and I feel like I have done that now, so yay me. I am now in this video going to tell you my final thoughts about the book, as well as, if you have not read this book, give you an idea whether you should read it, or like just give you an idea as to what you should expect from this book. So that is actually the first part of this section, which is what you should know before getting into this book. And the first part is that everyone tells you that this book is about 4 friends, and while that is true, it is more about one person and his relationship with everyone else. So that is now point number one. Point number two is that this is not a very plot driven book. There is somewhat of a plot, but it is more of a character driven book, and I can go further to say that it is more of a character study of sorts than anything else. So if you are a person who likes more plot driven books and not so much character driven books, then you should keep this in mind. The third bit is that the book is very graphic and very detailed in the sort of things that it discusses. So I definitely think that you need to look at the trigger warnings if there are things that you get triggered by. I will link down below the storygraph page, because the storygraph page has a list of content warnings in that, so definitely look at that, because it really got to me, as if you saw the vlog. It gets to you. Yeah. My fourth point is that if you are going into this book with the thought that it is going to be the book for LGBT characters, it is not. It does have a lot of like queer characters in it, but if you are looking for it to be about their queerness, that is not the main focal point of this book. So keep that in mind as well. And I feel like the fifth, which is the most important part, is that this book is not just a sad book. It is a very happy, uplifting book in parts as well. There is darkness as well as light. There are so many parts of this book where I was laughing out loud, where I was just so happy and overjoyed because of these characters and the things that were happening in this book. So it's not just pure depths of sadness. I don't know if you can see, but the green bits in this are the parts where I was just really happy. So it's not just sadness is another thing that you should definitely know about this book. Now let's get to the second part, which is the things that I liked. The number one thing that I definitely need to mention is the writing. The writing was absolutely sublime. I feel like Hane Anagahara has just such a talent. There were things, and the way that she described things were just so like intense but beautiful. The way she was doing it, there were these allegories that I completely understood, and even though this was maybe not a thing that I had personally gone through, but the way that she made you understand it was just so brilliant. The next is also to do with the writing, which is the sort of research that she's done in terms of bringing to life these people. So there were so many different professions, for example, in this book. There were lawyers, there were artists, there were actors, there were so many different sort of people within these spheres as well, and you just you completely believed that these things happened, like the litigation and the conversations that they were having and all of that. Like, I felt like that was just so real and so vivid, that's what truly came across, that like that's how she brought these characters to life. And really kudos to that aspect of this book, which of course brings me to the third point, which is the characters. The characters were what made this book for me. I feel like because of everything that I just said, there were so many of these characters that I absolutely fell for. They were described, their lives were described in such detail that you felt like you really truly knew them, and you really felt for them, and you kind of like grew up with them, sort of. So I think she did such a brilliant job in making these characters empathetic, or you just not liking certain characters, or just a brilliant job with characterization, for sure. Another thing that I really liked was the way that she discussed grief, and a lot of other actually very dark emotions like jealousy, or I don't know, like feeling inadequate, and things like that. These were things that usually we don't even talk about within ourselves in our brain because we are scared to acknowledge them, but she put them to page, and she made these characters tell us about their thoughts and feelings and all of that. And I felt like that was just done in such a brilliant way that it was absolutely wonderful to kind of see these things on page. And then of course I have to mention how she did such a brilliant job in just depicting mental health and trauma and PTSD and just all of these emotions that a person goes through. And yes, it was a lot, but it was described in just like a way that I don't think I've ever seen on page before, that it just felt so real, that I was scared for the characters, and I really felt for them, and I wanted to like reach through the pages and give them a hug and try to make sure that things were going okay for them. So yeah, there's that. And obviously because of all of this, those emotions really came out, and I really like that, because of all of the things that I've just mentioned. You really had yourself getting fully immersed into the book and the characters, and you all had like, I had, why you all, I had such a visceral reaction to like everything that was happening, not only the bad but also the good. So yeah, those are all wonderful things about this book. Now before I get into what I did not like in this book, there is a point that I don't know where I stand on it because I keep flip-flopping on it, which is that there are clearly a lot of really bad things that happen to one character, and I have heard, and even I thought for some time, that it is unrealistic that there are so many things that could happen to one person. But the more I think about it, the more I feel like that is just me being in my privileged bubble to think that there are these things that don't happen to actual people. And yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. It was really bad that we were getting to like see all of these things happen on page, but to think that things like this don't actually happen to people is probably wrong. So I don't know where I stand on that one. Now coming to things that I didn't like, I'm going to go from not like things that I don't really care about that much, that were like okay, to like my actual like thing which I did not like at all. And number one thing which like I was like okay about, like I didn't really actually care so much, but if I have to really nitpick, was that there were some characters that were really well fleshed out, and then there were some that weren't. And I understand that there are side characters and all of that sort of stuff, and like I'm fine with that. However, there were some characters that were meant to feel like main characters, but then I didn't really get to know much about them. For example, like Julia or Malcolm. Julia, of course, like I hardly got to know about her at all, whereas with Malcolm you got to know a bit, but kind of drifted away. And I get it, I sort of get it, and I don't really feel that bad about it, but I still wish like I got more from that. So that is point number one. Point number two is that there was just a lot of excessive describing of the bad things that were happening. I feel like I have explained this in my vlog where you can tell us that, and you can show us that there's something happening, and it's really bad, and like all of that sort of stuff, and you can speak about it for a few pages maybe, but this was just many pages of describing the same thing in excruciating detail, which I question a little bit, where I'm just like, did you draw this out for us to feel more pain and for us to feel worse inside? If that makes sense to you. That's that. And my third point for what I did not like about this book was just the way it made me feel. Throughout reading this book, I was afraid. I kept talking about how I was shrinking into myself to just sort of avoid the pain, and I just kept wondering to myself what is going to happen next that is going to make me feel absolutely terrible and like just remove all these emotions from me. And I just feel like that wasn't a good feeling for me. It wasn't an enjoyable experience, and I know that this book wasn't supposed to be enjoyable, and there are certain books that are supposed to make you sad and all of that sort of stuff, but I have read those books and I still liked the experience of that. But with this, I just felt like I was almost just waiting for the ball to drop for me to feel more pain, and I didn't know where it was going to come from, and it was just a very unnerving experience, and I just didn't like that at all. And that's why I feel like I love this book, and I give this, I think in my brain I gave it a 4-star, but I also hated the way it made me feel. I feel like for all of the good things that I've mentioned, just the way that it made me feel, in terms of just that unnervingness, if that's English at all, just that did not work for me. So what I do feel, however, is that maybe when I reread this book, and I definitely feel like this is a book that I can reread to truly appreciate this book, because I won't be waiting for that ball to drop and for me to feel that pain. I will know what's coming, and hence like appreciate this book much more, if that makes sense to you. So yeah, those were my final thoughts. This is not a book that I would recommend to people. I feel like it is a wonderful book and it's brilliantly written, but it is a book that you definitely need to think about whether you want to get into with, because of all of the things that I mentioned, that it is definitely a very harrowing experience. It is not an enjoyable read. It is a beautiful read, but it is definitely very difficult to read. So those are my thoughts on the book. I hope that you liked this video and generally my thoughts on this. If you have anything to add, please do add them down in the comment section, and please do like, subscribe, all of that sort of stuff, and I will see you in my next video. Bye! If you have read this book and want to discuss it with me, then you can check out my spoiler-filled version of this vlog where I just shout out my thoughts to the camera. So check that out here somewhere. Okay.